But he had a secret smile that night. I see him with a secret smile saying, even when you slam the door in his face, saying, all right, now day one begins. We're in a spiritual war, and now this fight for Krista's soul begins.
Well, and I always have that image of, Jesus knocking on the door, and, that image, and I always would tell Father Flume that. And he knew that he was going to fight for me then. I don't know, but it was, yeah.
Yeah, Father Flume was a wrestler in high school. He was a great wrestler.
He's like, I want that soul.
Yeah.
I think he got in the car and was praying his deliverance prayers, and he wanted that soul.
And that was the day when the war began, and he took that spiral staircase down into your soul and began to pluck out the little dragons and snakes and monsters and demons and say, we're gonna work with God right now. And yeah, that was the day, Krista, I'll tell you this, I don't know if I've said it before, but that's the day that your soul, I always thought, began to be saved. And I'd like to bring up the second time that you met Father Flume. It was months later, and Krista was actually doing really, her eyes were opening to some things, and she said, Kevin, I'd like to go on a retreat. Do they have a women's retreat that's silent? And I said, yeah, we'll dig one up, we'll find one. And so we found one, and Krista was nervous but excited, and really had never been on one like this. And I was like, oh my gosh, answered prayers. Krista's going on retreat. God, thank you. God, thank you. We had been suffering for a couple years with the hidden drinking, and I remember when Krista left the door that night or that afternoon to go to retreat, I just wanted to weep. I said, God, you're so good. And here's why I give testimony. Often people say it's a cliche that, God has a great sense of humor. I give testimony that God has an exceptional sense of humor, and here's why. Because that night I got a text from Krista, and Krista, what did your text say?
So that night, and this was many months later after the Father Flume, slamming the door on his face when he came for dinner. So this was many months later, and it was Friday night. I was at retreat. The first talk had just ended, and then they offer, the sacrament of reconciliation. So I knew I needed to go, and I wanted to go, and there were two priests. And I texted Kevin. I said, there's two priests. Who should I go to, Father Flume or Father Matt Fish? And I knew Kevin, just knows a lot of priests, so I knew he would, give me some good advice. And he immediately texts back in all caps, go to Father Flume. And then another text came and it said, and go face to face.
All caps.
And tell him you're married to Kevin Wells. I'm like, okay, this is weird.
and you had blanked out that night.
Right, I completely forgotten Flume, completely forgotten, the night, because I had been drinking, and I just, that memory was gone. So I'm in line to go to confession with Father Flume, and, I'm in line, and the other line for Father Matt Fish is people are going in and out, and Father Flume's line is not moving. And God is so good, because I thought about just switching the line, but I stayed in Father Flume's line. And I'm in the little tiny confessional, and, wonderful confession. I confessed, the drinking, and, just a lot of the shame that I had inside. And it was just a beautiful healing confession. And at the end, Father Flume asked if I wanted to continue talking, that he would come back the next day and we could continue with everything. And then as I was leaving, I said, by the way, I'm Krista Wells, married to Kevin Wells. And that's when, and he had forgotten about it as well. And he just looked at me and said, and started pointing his finger at me, you're the one that slammed the door in my face when I came to dinner. And I still, like, what is he talking about? And then I remembered it all, and I was horrified. And he just kept going, and we had a good laugh, and it ended well. And that next morning, I went down and continued talking with him, and that was the door, that opened my healing with Father Flume.
If Father Flume, you shared with me, told you that next day, Krista, God has loved you from the beginning of time, and you're his daughter, and he just wants you to know of his love for you, and he knows you're suffering now, and he wants to enter into your suffering and sort of carry away the pain, the wounds, and that was the day that I think you said, that's when I got a spiritual father in Father Flume, and you began to heal.
Yes, I had never experienced, the Father's love like he was showing me. So I knew that it was very hard for me to trust someone, and Father Flume, I knew I could trust him, and I was safe with him.